Hello, this is Joni Barrett with Out the Box Mind Body Studio, and I'm going to give you 3 exercises to do today that will help improve the mobility of the shoulder, especially in regards to running or walking. And we're going to be playing with some Indian clubs to have that happen. And the Indian club is a really good tool to be able to get the shoulder blades to be a little bit more mobile because of its design. And it just has a great shape to be able to facilitate some of this mobility. But first of all, we just need to make sure that we understand the parts that we're wanting to feel moving, because you can certainly do the mobility drill and not actually move the shoulder blade. So really quick, we're going to talk about some of the parts. So we have our collarbone here, and it attaches to the sternum that's here. There is a joint here. The collarbone rolls up and down. If you walk all the way out, in my body, it's about right here is the end of that collarbone or clavicle. And a lot of times there's like a little bump on the top, and you can see mine here. And it rolls as well. So if I want my arms to go up, it has to roll back so that the arm can move freely in its socket. So we just want to identify these parts. Sometimes people will say, they feel when they're doing shoulder work, kind of some crunching or some impinging up here. It might be that this is not opening and closing, so you can just have your hands here and just check and see. And if it doesn't take much, you just kind of push it back, and you should just feel the chest lift. And you need that action to happen so that the arm bone can move in its socket. And we always want to be in a neutral pelvis, so we want that hip hinge. I'm going to wrap the abs to the midline, kind of our whole core piece that we've already talked about. So think about drawing transverse abdominis lower part, transverse abdominis upper part. Rib cage always stays lined up over the pelvis before we come and do any of these shoulder exercises. We don't want the rib cage being the mover, we want the shoulder blade. And then this is, I usually cue it in my classes as your arm pit, and you should have a hole there. And what that hole is the arm bone itself is a ball and socket, so it's round on top, goes into the scapula, which is the part that holds it, and that scapula moves out a little bit so that the arm bone can move into its socket. So you just want soft fingers, because it can be tender in there. You just got to bring your hands in there and just make sure that you feel that you have a little bit of a pit. And you'll see that I can make mine deepen. If I bring my arm up all the way, it gets a little bit flatter, so arm all the way overhead, you don't have that much. It's just dictated by where the scapula goes on the back. It comes out to the front, it's deeper. Internal rotation, it's the deepest, because this arm has to come down, the elbow has to bend, and the wrist has to go behind. So just play with that. Just make sure that you can feel that you do have an armpit. You might find one side is working and one side isn't working. So you just want to identify that you do actually have 2 working scapula. And you should not feel any pinching or impinging up here at the top of the collarbone or clavicle. And if you do, then come back up here, roll it back open, just so you can make sure that you have this nice shape. And then the other thing to really think about here is that this part of the arm bone here doesn't tip forward, but rather it's in its socket. So as soon as it comes out like this, it's not in its socket. We want it back. So you're really looking for this space here to be fairly open, or there's not a bone poking out here. And again, a hip hinge is going to be necessary, so you can have your hands right here, drop the pubic bone down, and you'll feel this space, these bones just kind of slide back into their socket, and you're going to feel yourself get nice and tall. So again, just make sure the arms are in their socket, or the drill is not going to be as effective. If you're doing the drill and you feel pinching or grinding up into the collarbone or clavicle, you just need to stop, you need to reassess, make sure it's open again, make sure the arm is back in its socket. The other place to really monitor is that you don't want any tension in the neck here. So if this is where you're feeling a lot of tension, so if you finish the drill and you're like, oh man, there's a lot of tension there, the collarbone did not open. So if that is the case, you're going to feel that the neck had to move the arm instead of the arm moving around its socket. And then just making sure that you don't feel any discomfort in any places along where the shoulder blade is. The shoulder blade, when we're doing this, should feel pretty good. It might feel weak, like it's a movement it hasn't done, but it should feel like it's moving on your back. So the first one we're going to do, and I'm going to grab my Indian club here, is going to be for internal rotation. And like I say, the nice thing with the Indian club is its shape. Its shape helps facilitate this movement. If a dumbbell, sometimes people use dumbbells instead, they just don't work as well. You really want to think about getting an Indian club. So the grip is soft. The hand, the roots of the index finger, are what you're going to use to hold it, but the fingers are fairly soft. And the more that you can think about using the Indian club, especially for these drills, where you're using really the part of the arm here to facilitate the movement, here down just kind of responds to the movement. So we're going to bring our arm up and over, doesn't matter which side you start with, and we're going to let, I'm going to turn around so you can see, we're going to let it just, you'll feel it on your spine, and really think about, you are going to let the elbow come up to the ceiling. You're going to wrap your abs to the midline, that upper and lower transverse abdominis, drop your pubic bone down, and you're going to feel yourself get a little bit taller. So if right now in this position you feel crimping or catching up in the collarbone, you're going to bring it down. Bring hands up onto the first one is here. Open, open. Just make sure that that is in fact open. Make sure you have armpits. And you bring it up, and you're going to put it into position. Okay, and then you'll check on this side. So just check both sides before you begin. Just make sure, be like, okay, feels pretty good. I drop my pubic bone down. Yep, I feel like I'm in my socket. I don't feel any pinching up into the collarbone. And then to do the exercise, you're going to take your opposite hand just to monitor and put it in that pit. And remember, soft fingers, because it can be a little bit tender in there, especially if it hasn't moved in a while. In fact, you can even just do like a soft knuckle, just monitoring. You're just going to bring, again, just this part of the arm as much as you can across, and you should feel that armpit hole get deeper, and you should feel the scapula just kind of slide across the back. So you're going to do that a few times. I do about 3. This is kind of just the prep, because if that scapula doesn't move, then again, you're not going to get anything out of the drill, and the shoulder blade itself is not going to get any more mobile. So just kind of check, make sure you got it on this side, and I can kind of feel it moving back there. And then you'll check the other side, and bring it up, wrap to the midline, drop the pubic bone down, soft fist. So remember, when the arm is up in the air, that's whenever this armpit is at its flattest, just because of where the scapula is. But as it starts to make an internal rotation, you're going to feel the armpit get deeper. And the other thing to really watch is that you're not moving your hips or your spine. It is actually, you're moving the scapula and the upper part of the arm across there. And you'll just kind of feel it come out, and you can see the armpit gets deeper there. So then after you've made sure things are moving there, don't have any pinching up in the collarbone, you're going to bring it across to initiate and bring it down and through and back up. All right, so across, down and through, and back up. Across, and pelvis stays level, across, and back up. I'm going to do about 5 to 10 on each side, so, and down and through, and you're going to make sure that the head's not moving. The head's going to stay stable. Remember, we want the scapula moving around the spine, not vice versa, not the head moving around the scapula. All right, and we'll do the same thing on this side. Just make sure you have your good form. Pelvis is neutral. Wrap those abs, down and through. And so it's that action of, as it comes down and through, that lets that shoulder blade get a little bit more mobile. But again, it has to initiate. If it doesn't, then you're just moving your arm. And when you finish, like I say, it should feel pretty darn good. You're like, wow, that's a feeling I haven't felt before. So then we can go the other way and come across, wrap it around, and bring it down. So same thing, we're going to come up, you're going to make sure you have it. Keep at the beginning it as close to the body as possible, just to make sure that you are in fact working in this area, and down and through. And if you'll notice that my wrist is pretty soft, I mean, I'm just kind of letting that movement just kind of come into the elbow and the wrist. So I'm not working real hard in through here. This is all up in through this area. And then the other side, abs are on, neutral pelvis. It stays close at the beginning and down and through. And up. And again, 5 to 10. Looking for as minimal amount of movement through the spine as you can. Letting this part of the arm move in its socket. Okay, so that's 2 drills. And now the third one, we're going to see it in as we would run. So I'm going to show it from the side. You are certainly welcome to do it as a moving exercise as well. The setup, I'll show it from the side and then from the front. So the setup is going to be Indian club in right hand at the beginning, and you're going to hold it a little bit below the end. And now you do have a fairly firm grasp on it, but don't overwork the fingers. So the arm is going to come back, armpit is there, arm bone is still in its socket. Don't let this tip forward. That seems to be the tendency, is to let this tip forward. And then we're going to have right leg back, the opposite hand forward, just in a nice soft position, and through, and back, and through, and back, and through. And again, you're looking for that rhythm. You're looking for that ability for that arm to come back, broaden, we're gazing forward, and through. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Hand holds the Indian club. We're going to bring arm back. Soft hand, right? And through. And back. Looking for that open and through. And the pelvis, and I'll show it from the front, is not rocking around. This is all rotation at the T-spine. So from the front, right hand, right leg, set up, and through, and through. And what you're looking for is this, open, and back. And when you get it right, it feels pretty darn good. So should not be any pain in the shoulder blade, should not be any pain in the collarbones. So it's in my left hand, left foot's back, and through. All right, so those are some really good mobility drills that you can play with the Indian clubs. There's lots of other things you can do with them, but those are a really good starting place, especially if it translates to running. And then when you are running, what you're looking for is the ability to do this. The more you can do this motion, the better your running is going to feel. So a lot of times I'll go run at the beginning, and I'll just put my hands here just to mimic what I just did with the Indian clubs. And I'm running, and I'm feeling this rotation. These don't tip forward, they stay back. And then the arms just come down in that same shape you had with the Indian clubs. And you're just looking for that exact same feel. And the stronger you can get with that drive back with the club, the stronger you're going to get out of your run. So play with those. Let me know what you think. Keep broad through here. Be looking for kind of the places that aren't moving. And if they're not moving, get them moving. So remember, collarbones up, collarbones roll back, pubic bone drops down, wrap the abs, making sure that the scapulas are actually responding to the movement we're doing, that we're not feeling any crunching up in here or crunching in the neck or anything weird pinching in the shoulder blade. So Joni Barrett, Out the Box Mind Body Studio, and play with those and tell me what you think. Have a great day.